Imagine being just a few months away from walking free. After months in prison, counting down the days until your release, you suddenly make a choice that shocks everyone: guards, the public, even your fellow inmates. This is the story of Elijah Palmer, a man whose escape from the Whetstone Unit in Tucson, Arizona, became one of the most unexpected and talked about prison breaks in early 2025. He wasn't a violent criminal. Elijah Palmer was serving time for the unlawful use of means of transportation, essentially taking a vehicle without permission. Not carjacking, not grand theft auto, just a non-violent offense that earned him a relatively short sentence. He'd been in custody since August 6, 2024, and was set to be released on May 12, 2025. That's barely 3 months away. But on the early morning of January 25, 2025, Palmer vanished. It was around 4 a.m. when the Arizona Department of Corrections officers at the Whetstone Unit conducted a routine count of inmates. Everything seemed normal until they realized one person was missing: Elijah Palmer. He wasn't in his assigned area. He wasn't anywhere on the prison grounds. No noise, no alert, no warning. And just like that, the alarm was sounded. The Whetstone Unit, part of the Arizona State Prison Complex Tucson, is a minimum security facility. That means fewer walls, fewer guards, and generally a calmer environment, mostly for inmates nearing the end of their sentences or convicted of less severe crimes. But with less security comes more vulnerability. Immediately after realizing Palmer was gone, the Arizona Department of Corrections called in support from the Department of Public Safety and the Pima County Sheriff's Department. A full-blown manhunt was launched. Patrol cars flooded the area, helicopters scoured the sky, local residents were advised to stay alert. The fact that Palmer had escaped from a minimum security facility made the incident even more unusual and troubling. And here's what made it even more puzzling. Officials never disclosed how Palmer escaped. There were no signs of a break-in or a violent incident. There were no missing vehicles. No guards were harmed. It was like he simply walked out. This silence from the authorities left the public speculating. Did Palmer exploit a security blind spot? Did he sneak past distracted guards? Did he have help, either from inside or outside the prison? Whatever the method, he was gone, and no one knew where he went. Now, here's where things take a twist. While most prison escapes become long chases or develop into massive manhunts that last days, weeks, or even months, Palmer's freedom was short-lived. Less than 10 hours after he disappeared, the Pima County Sheriff's Department announced that he had been captured. At around 2 p.m. that same day, Elijah Palmer was taken back into custody. Just like that, it was over. The entire escape, from freedom to recapture, lasted less than half a day. But while the escape was short, the consequences were not. For someone who was just months away from walking free, Palmer's decision turned into a life-changing mistake. Now he faces new charges, most likely felony escape. That could add years to his sentence, and more than that, it changes how the system sees him. No longer a minimum security inmate, Palmer will almost certainly be transferred to a higher security facility. He'll be under closer surveillance, he'll lose privileges, his classification will shift from non-violent offender to escape risk, and all for what? This is the question that remains. Why would someone risk everything so close to release? What could have driven Palmer to do it? There are theories. One is psychological distress. Life behind bars, even in minimum security, is still prison. The routine, the monotony, the loss of freedom. It can wear someone down. Maybe Palmer snapped. Maybe he couldn't take it anymore. Another theory, maybe he got bad news, something that made him feel desperate. Maybe a family member was in danger. Maybe he felt the outside world was slipping away from him. Or maybe he believed the system wouldn't let him go, even if the paperwork said May 12th. 2025. And then there's the simplest theory, impulse. Some people can't resist the thrill of the risk. Some test the system, not because they have a plan, but because they want to know if they can get away with it. That kind of impulse, especially when unchecked, can override logic, even for someone with freedom just around the corner. But speculation aside, this incident raises a larger question. How could this happen in the first place? Officials at the Arizona Department of Corrections say they are reviewing the circumstances surrounding the escape. They haven't released specifics, citing the ongoing investigation. Surveillance footage is being analyzed. Staff are being questioned. But many critics argue that the public deserves answers. Some say that this escape shows just how vulnerable even basic prison security can be. If Palmer found a way out, what's stopping someone else, someone more dangerous, from doing the same? And yet, there's another side to the story. Some prison reform advocates argue that focusing on this incident risks overcorrecting, that one mistake shouldn't lead to harsh crackdowns across the board. After all, Palmer wasn't violent, he didn't hurt anyone during his escape. His background didn't include anything suggesting he was a threat to society, but that may not matter anymore. Once someone escapes custody, regardless of their reason or background, their status changes. They become a liability, a symbol of a system failure. And Elijah Palmer is now that symbol. He'll likely never return to a minimum security facility. Any chance of early release? Gone. Any opportunity to qualify for future programs or leniency? Highly unlikely. And perhaps most tragically, he had a second chance. He had a date, he had a path out. But in a single morning, he lost it all. The story of Elijah Palmer is a warning, a reminder of how close someone can be to freedom and how easily it can slip away. It's a lesson in impulse, in patience, in what happens when someone chooses to run, even when there's nowhere left to go. Because in the end, he didn't run into freedom. He ran right back into a cage. Only now, one with tighter bars and fewer chances. So next time you hear about a prison escape, remember, Elijah Palmer. Not every escape ends in glory. Some end in regret. Please like, subscribe The Escape Files for more thrilling stories.